it's been decided that's the way I'm going. Grumpy Dave's Garage has done it again. We're going to run a 2-inch down piece. So even when it's up here at the max, it's still got a gentle curve to it to match the curves in the car. And then it will just fade into nothingness, even with the headlights. Bad daddy. Remember parochial schools? I swear, those nuns must have wore out a whole case of rulers on me over the years. I had one nun got so mad she smacked my desk with it, knocked off exactly 1 inch. It was 35 inches long. And she said that was an omen from God not to hit me that day. I think she was just messing with my head so I'd behave. What do you think? This piece is perfect. It's convexed. It's curved. It's the same metal as the EMG. It'll be a nice weld together. This strip here, I've been thinking about it, will have to be cut about 4 inches so I can stick it down in here and draw a line to match the curve of the hood, and then I'll trim it, and then I'll bring it up here and I'll actually probably find a way to put a measurement on it. To get it to match this curve, the top, okay? Because once I get that curve figured out, so I'll probably come through here and put sheet metal screws down to bump it against it like a stop, so I can figure out this curve, or try it on a piece of paper. I got multiple ways to do it. See what I can do. I got to make one that's perfect, then I can just duplicate it for the other side. As it goes from 2-inch and just starts coming up at an angle and back down. So my 2-inch will be an aggressive issue right here. So if I'm coming up at 2 inches, and it matches the curve of the hood, the 2-inch curve should line up to this. If I'm thinking correctly, probably not. I'll just have to get the other hood over here, cut a strip off of it, get the angle on it, and lay it right here. So if it's 2 inches here and 2 inches there, it should just flex up and come right back down. Watch me be wrong. But this is the curve I want right here. I'm not going to form this curve yet, quite yet. I got to lay it down there, step on it, and take the bow out of it a little bit, and not till I'm 100% sure of where it's going. Then I got to remove the blue paint, remove the black paint off this hood, clean the metal on this hood, clean the metal on that piece, and come in here and start lining it up. My front lip matches the headlights. Okay? So yeah, it should go straight. Watch it make a liar out of me. But this is what we're doing. This gives me an extra 3/4 of an inch. It's going to be cut up to right even with this. Okay, so I can put a 4-inch silicone fitting on it, elbow, to run my tube over my filter down out of the way, away from the radiator, away from the serpentine belt, away from the alternator. So it's a win-win on that. I'm just going to have to buckle down and clean the hood and get it repaired and get it ready and get the metal totally buffed off and cleaned, and then clean this piece and start refitting it. Then I can cut the strip, stick it down in here, and get this curve to lay across here. So if it's laying across here, it should be able to just come. That's my theory on it. I'm probably 100% wrong because I'm not a sheet metal worker. But if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. I got a whole hood to cut up for metal, so it's not like if I mess up, oh, I got bare metal right there. I have to hit that with a primer. Got some sanding to do. It's no big deal. I'm very impressed with this decision to do it this way, because since this goes this way, it's still down out of your line of vision. It gives me extra room in here to work, so it solves my problem. The problem it doesn't solve is my before I start cussing on film here, that pain in the behind water pump for a truck that I made the alteration to fit, to find out that now it's got to come out the front to clear the drive-by cable throttle body, because right now they actually rub by a 1/4 inch. People say you just beat it over with a hammer, hook it up. No, I'm not doing that. I'll change the water pump. I'll put the Camaro Corvette GTO water pump on it. I'll get the truck spacers to use that water pump on a truck motor. It's a 5.3, that's what this is, to bring it out to everything in lines, the tensioner and everything. Then I'll be able to work with the heater control, and we'll start running the hoses and stuff while we're working under the car on the transmission. The braking system is now complete. Like we were saying, we're just bleed the brakes, we're ready to go. The fuel system's ready. The only thing I gotta do is put 5 gallons of good Gulf high octane back there, and it's ready to turn the key and start the pump. So there's a whole bunch of stuff's got to be done. Then I can address the engine, the standalone wiring harness, the secondary hoses for the power brakes and the PCV valve and all that stuff. Nice. It's going to be different. That's what I wanted. Why build something like everybody else does? If I want to do that, I just buy all the parts out of the kit and I'd be done now. So we'll address on strengthening the hood and getting that corner done. We'll get this metal totally cleaned down. It's got a lot of overspray and stuff on it. It's got to be buffed off. I'll do that. This has to be down to clean metal too. And then we'll put a straight line straight up the hood. to line everything too. We'll do the same thing to this piece. And then I'll start making the side pieces. I get one to fit, I can duplicate it for the other. That's my thought anyway. Because this is rigid. If this is welded to this, it should add even more structural strength to it, is what I'm hoping for. What do you think of that? Using what I have on hand to cure the problem. That's the fun part of the old school build. Didn't have to run out and buy a spoiler. Didn't have to go do this or buy a hood. I used what I got, and I like where it's going. Thinking about taking the rubber buggy bumper MG emblem and put it right there on this rise, just to be different. I got overspray on it, spot there to be dealt with. I mean, there's a lot of paint crud on here to come off. I need to get this down to clean metal right after I get all that welding done and everything done underneath it. Then I can lay it back on the car. It's bolted in right now. It's snapped down in. It's just got to go back and then the hinges and have the support pads put on it. And then this will be down where it belongs. It's got to go back 1/4 of an inch. Man. Do this. Stick my My MGB GT radiator is bumping the hood right here. How is that possible? The radiator was built for the car. Well, I can fix that. I just lower the radiator an inch. Is that Miss Macy coming up to see Daddy? Come on, baby girls. So you come out and see what Daddy's doing? There's Miss Gabby, the shop dog. This is, everybody, this is Miss Macy. Yep. She's the old girl around here. She comes out and plays in the yard just on warm days. When it's cold, she's a smart dog. She don't come out. She's just, right now she's wanting to go back in the house and lay down on her warm blanket. I've had enough of this cool weather, Daddy. Yeah. Gabby's just a squirrel chasing, rabbit hunting, pain in the butt. I'll be right back. Let's go in the house. Well, I get my little helpers put away. I noticed something wasn't quite right up here with the body line. Even if I move the radiator back, it's still sitting up a 1/4 inch too high. It's bumping that radiator. I made a mistake on that one. I'll just drop the radiator an inch. I ain't gonna mess with it. I can do that while this is out being worked on. I'll reset the height of the radiator. Now's the time to do it due to the fact that I got to deal with the water pump and the cooling stuff, so it's all going to be wrapped into one. I just need it not to interfere with my measuring here, which it's doing. It's pushing the hood forward. So we'll get that altered. We'll get this readjusted so we know where we're at. It doesn't change anything I've done here. And basically, when you look out the hood, you're looking over the hood. You're not looking at the back of anything. So I didn't want a hood scoop sticking up here and you look at the back of it, or everything I found that obscured your line of vision. I wanted a clean line of vision. Having the hood with the contour is one thing. Having an obstruction sticking up, be like a ruler looking over it. No, I didn't want that. So, glad I found that now. That's what you get when you build a car from scratch. Then you're not getting parts out of a kit. You're actually building it. This is the stuff you get up against. So I'll show adjusting the radiator, what I do to do it. And then we'll get this hood polished and marked for the cut and the weld. Most likely I'll just block it up right there and rest the back of it on the car. Get the weld stuff away from the engine and everything, weld it on the table there. And then when the time comes, I'll throw the blanket that's on the engine over the table and turn this upside down on it. And I'll get in and do the reinforcing welds and stuff. And when I get done with that, I'm going to have this ready. Then we're going to clean all the metal. It's totally clean. I'll have to put all new lines on it. I'll make notes of what measurements I need, so I can have a really good surface for the weld. Over there straight here, it's bent down a little bit. This corner's been dinged up, so I gotta correct it a little bit. This will have to be bent out a little bit so it'll lay down without the weight on it. See if this was straight. There we go. Boink. And it would come along here and boink. And then it not right. I may have to do it 2 pieces and split it right here to get the proper roll. I don't know. I'm gonna get a couple scraps of this over there, my welder set up, and work on butt welding this metal to see what I'm up against before I start on the hood. I had no trouble with the flares because the metal was the same thickness like this is. Because in the back, it's just going to be plug welds every 1/4 of an inch. And down the side, Oh, it's going to take a lot of work to make that hood. I got plenty of time. That's what I do. I'm retired. This is how I spend my time. I'll fix the radiator, I'll fix this line, I'll fix this line, the hood will set, the hood will set. This will be easy repair. 1, 2, 3. Nothing to it. So, I did notice this edge bleeds out, so it's going to have to be trimmed so it's totally straight on both sides. I'll hit with a flapper wheel and I'll clean up this edge, because if not I'll be wearing band-aids. I'll get this bent down, and this is bent up this way. I got to get the whole thing bent down. Let's get the the radiator done first, which is a quickie, and then we'll reset the hood to make sure it's correct. And then I'll just go ahead and buff everything off the hood so it's totally clean. Set this on the table and buff it off till it's totally clean. And then we'll start working on positioning and fabricating. This is easy. It lines up between the two headlights. This right here is 1 inch at the peak of the curve, so it's not like it's going to be hard to duplicate. So I'll get everything cleaned off, and then the only lines it'll be, I got stuff slopped on it, will be the exact measurements I need. So that's what we're doing. When you build a car, you get the pleasure of doing all this. Thinking the MGB GT V8 radiator would be a bolt-in, which it was, it's just the wrong height. It's okay, it's a simple fix compared to everything else I've dealt with. And then I'll get this buffed, I'll get this repaired, I'll get the stiffeners in it, and I'll be able to lay it back on here, and I can push it back in its exact spot. Okay? What are you thinking about that? Piece of trunk, some metal off a hood. The back piece will be cut so I can lay a new piece on the inside of this lip all the way across so it's continuous, and I'll plug weld that up in there and do a few little surface welds along the front to hold it tight, buff them off so I can put a little thin coat of filler there. That'll just add some more strength in that front lip. I want to change the hood over to hydraulic closers, one on each side instead of the one that lets the hood whopper around because it's only on one side. So when this is all done, I got my painting things here. I'll just latch one of these on the hood to hold it open while I'm working there until I get the pieces on. No problemo. Radiator issue, you'll get the parts hood. Clean the metal up and try to get it laid out. It's been a good day. It's only, see, I came out at 9. In 3 hours, I had all this figured out, and I got this hit with some primer to protect it from the weather coming in. And while I'm thinking about it, methinks I need to hit the bare metal here. That's it. Like I say, I'm not trying to make it perfect, I'm just trying to protect the metal. When I go to primer, you'll know. That's the reason why I kept looking at this radiator, and I could see something was wrong in the front of the hood, and I couldn't figure out what it was because there's nothing touching. Yeah, it is. It's right there. Here. I have to have the hood in position, and it's not, and I think it's going to change my positioning. Going to change my positioning. Not in the front, in the back. This will have to come forward. Let's do this. Okay. Right there is a ½ inch above the throttle body. That's where it needs to be. Yep. At least maybe a little bit more. Just not gonna, which will not change. Too much. Correct the radiator so the hood will drop down. It's not going to affect the height any of what we're doing here. This will go down. And then we'll verify the height just because I can. I think during the welding and the process, when it's on the car, I've got a piece of that material that I used to protect the radiator. I'm going to lay a piece with a zip tie right around that throttle body, which will hold the gap it needs, so no matter what we do, we can't close that gap. And then we're done welding, I can just reach here and cut it with a pair of pliers and clip the hood down. Well, people, that's the hood work. Part 2. So we'll reset the radiator tomorrow on camera. I'm gonna go out to my son's. I need that hood, so I might as well go out and get it over with, and drop that down. And then get that piece over there replaced, and the pieces made to support the hood and everything welded in. Put it back on here with the hood down where it belongs, and I'll use a piece of, where's that stuff at? Well, I got this foam, it's the same thickness. Take a piece of this, just wrap it around, because that's the, I don't want the engine rubbing. So I'll just wrap a piece of this around my front of my throttle body with a tie wrap, so it lays down on here while we're building. It'll maintain that gap we need. Doesn't bother a bit, does it? Works perfect. I'm always keeping that kind of stuff and reusing it a dozen times. That's like the packing material came with the radiator is now protecting the radiator from me banging around putting a water pump in. And then we're going to cut cardboard and stick in front of it here shortly and tape it all off to protect it from some primering and some front work we got to do. And by lowering it an inch, it'll help me with my radiator. How would you put that? Lower hose issue. The lower I get it, the easier it's going to be because it's got to drop below the pulley on the front of the engine, the harmonic balancer. So I don't need this one. I'll throw it back out in the stack for the rest of them. There we go, people. I'm enjoying myself an icy cold adult beverage, celebrating my victory with the hood. Finally, in 3 hours, I did more work than I did in the last 2 days at one shot. This is just the bucket for the windshield washer tank. It's kind of nice to have it all done. What'll happen after it's dried real good, I'll assemble it, lay it in the trunk with the windows and all the stuff I don't want broken or misplaced. And there it is. Only thing I gotta do is put the windshield washer motor on it, hook up the hose, and the controls to the inside, and we are good to go. I think tomorrow's going to be a clean day. I need to clean this floor, put some stuff away, make some room. Put the cardboard to protect the front of my radiator. Tape up the sides. Because when I'm in here primering and working, I don't want that stuff getting on the radiator. And by using a piece of cardboard, I can pull the tape, open it up, so when we test the car and the radiator's up, we can get the car up and running and check for leaks and everything. And then when we go to paint the car, we just put the cardboard and the stuff back on it. I won't need the foam pad on the inside to protect the radiator. I need to protect the front from this overspray. There's stuff right there oversprayed. That's red. I don't know what I painted red. People, that's what we're doing. We're moving along fast now. Like I'm saying, we're switching off because of the weather. I'll come out here and work with the metal and stuff. And my little heater did a good job, but right now there's no reason to run it because it's workable for me for what I'm doing in here. It's good. It's nice. Stuff to do. I got an oil cooler I got to work on. I've got for the transmission. I'm using the oil cooler off of the donor car for the transmission cooler, because I think it's like a mini radiator. It's going to do a lot better job mounted down in behind one of those openings and the grill getting cold air against it constantly, because that's the Achilles tendon of an automatic transmission, is overheating, and this will never overheat that way. I'm getting excited now because I want to see this hood welded up. get this bent correctly. I'll get the curve bent correctly. I'll get the pad taped onto the, or zip tied onto the front of the throttle body to make sure I got the gap. I'll get the front fixed, the cross piece done, radiator dropped, and we'll stay right on this. I'll be looking for the water pump I want to use and that stuff. When it finally comes in, I'll just throw it on the bench because I kind of like to come in and stop everything I'm doing. The hood will be on by then. We'll raise the hood up and tie it up. I'm not going to wait till we get the closing rods in on it. And when we do that, I can put the water pump in. I can work on the, I'll have the heater controls in. I'll make that panel that I need to mount that to while I'm working with this sheet metal. I'll have all the metal stuff out to work with it. I'll get it painted, drilled, and built, and ready, and bolted on the head on that side. So when the time comes, the only thing I have to do is run the hoses from the shutoff valve to the LS block, and from the LS block to the continuous return line, up, reduce it down from 5/8 or 3/4 to, is it 3/4? I think it's 5. No, it might be 3/4. Anyway, it's got to be reduced down to with a reducer in line to 1/2 inch, because the MG is all 1/2 inch. Bring it back and get those lines in position and out of the way. You see what I'm doing? Then it's the PCV valve and the power booster vacuum line, and everything is done. Okay, follow me to that point. And then we're going to go back under the car because I was saying we got transmission lines once the cooler's in, and we get all that stuff done. Then we got to come over here and start over again. We've got to build a box to go inside the console, down inside the transmission tunnel, to house the shifter I want to use, to put the cable in it, to get the cable to attach, to get the cable to line up and function with the transmission, to put a plug on it so it can be wired so it only starts in neutral and park, stop neutral switch, and a few things to button up. And at that point, we should be able to put the wiring harness in it, hot wire battery to it, pour 5 gallons of high test good golf in it, no knocks, 102, and turn the key and it'll fire and run. The engine's a running engine. It was on an engine stand running when I bought it. You know, he doesn't want people, well, your engine doesn't work. Well, he sells a lot of engines. You come over and they're on running. Or he'll start it up and it'll be on the thing running before he unhooks it and sets the whole thing in your trailer or your truck or whatever. And I got a boy down in Southern Ohio who wants to work with some engine stuff with me, so I'm going to see what he can bring to the table. And I want to go with, like I was saying, a square body pickup truck next time or something. I wouldn't mind doing an El Camino, but they got a problem with rust. And I don't think you're going to find one around here that's going to do what I want it to do without massive floorboard repair. They just have a floorboard issue. That's their thing. I come up here and took 220 and sanded this, all the little scratches disappeared from the 80 grip, which I don't care. The primer's going to take care of them. That's all I can say, people. There's nothing else to do. This is what we're doing. This is the path we're following, and this is how it's going to be done. I'm going to put a rise in the hood that's below this part of the hood. See it? Even its highest point is still lower. So you're looking out over it like a normal hood. You're not looking around anything. I just got to do some finessing to make it blend in with her natural curves now. Brittany's a sexy English lass with very sexy curves, and it looks like I'm adding some more. I'm going to call it a day in here. It's not even 2 o'clock yet, and I've got a lot done, but I got a ton of computer stuff that has to be done with every build. I got to go look water pumps and all those fittings. I got to look for some stuff for here. I got to look for some other stuff. I got to look for stuff for the transmission. I got a list in there. I'm constantly looking and digging. This is the stuff you don't see on a build on here usually. They just show you what they're doing, but there's stuff behind the scene. A lot of it. So you see what we did. We'll make this work. It'll drop down, push the hood back where it belongs, and then we'll work on this and the supports in it. And while it's out, I will get it buffed down totally mirror clean. Set it back on the car, and we'll put our lines on it and see how it's going to work, because I got to open up the front some more for the silicone elbow to come in and make the 4 o'clock turn. And once that's done, this piece will get cleaned and fitted, and then I'll cut and fit the side pieces to match the curve here. Now I'm going to have to do all this welding, all this grinding, and then I'm going to have to skim coat the whole hood to make sure it's laser smooth. People, that's what we're doing, and I'm going to call it quits now. I appreciate you coming and enjoying our project and the work we do here. Other than the firewood stacked on top of the thing there, I think that's going to blend in real nice. I really do. We'll see. That's the only thing I can tell you. We will see. Everybody, have a blessed day.